I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm such a huge fan. So I'm Shannon Parkey from Awards Daily here with Justin Baldoni, producer and director of Clouds, currently on Disney+. Justin, let's start there because, as you said, you do have such a close relationship with the Sobiechs and Zach. Can you tell me about that? How did you guys meet? How did it all get started?
Yeah, so I first met Zach and his mom Laura 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago, when I told his story in an episode of the documentary series called My Last Days that I was making with my friends at Soul Pancake. And I had quit acting, and I had spent this year just telling the stories of people living with a chronic or a terminal illness, because I believed that if we could capture, like lightning in a bottle, a little bit of that hope and that resilience that so many of these young people had as they were facing their mortality, but choosing joy and love and hope, then maybe we could change the world. Maybe I could inspire an audience to not procrastinate to become the people they've always wanted to be. And that was the final documentary I made in that first season on YouTube, which we made for like no money. It was like $10,000 or $11,000. But you can imagine bringing 8 crew members, flying them across the country, feeding them. We were there for a week, and that was one of the most important weeks of my life because I made a new family in the Sobiechs, and he became like a little brother to me. And before he died, I made him a promise that I would do whatever I could to make sure the world knew his name and heard his music, but that I would help him raise money for his fund, the Zach Sobiech Osteosarcoma Fund, which will hopefully one day end this form of children's cancer. So after his mom wrote the book, based on Zach's life and what that experience was, I asked her if I could turn it into a movie, and that was 5.5 years ago.
So, because this is your producer on this project as well. So talk me through that 5.5 years of like development and putting it all together.
How much time do you have? It was a lot. So originally I was a first-time filmmaker when I was going to make this movie. I had only had music videos and commercials and documentaries under my belt. So convincing a studio to let me make this movie was one thing, and I had never produced a feature film before. Also, I produced a bunch of other small things, but not this. And originally, this movie was set up at Relativity. We were going to make it there. My first producing partner, Casey LaScala, was invaluable in getting this set up. And then as Relativity went bankrupt, we had this feeling that we had to get the movie out because we kind of saw the writing on the wall as all these lawsuits and things started happening. And we begged and pleaded, and they gave us the movie back the day before they filed bankruptcy. Oh. Otherwise, we would have never been able to make the movie. And I owe that to my dear friend who was our executive at the time there, who made sure we got the movie back. And then we set up the movie at Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. And it was a Warner Brothers movie originally. And I was going to make this first. And then, I was shooting Jane the Virgin. And unfortunately, Warner Brothers wasn't comfortable with me editing the movie while I was acting, as most studios wouldn't be. But I had also had this idea to make this movie called 5 Feet Apart, which was my first movie.
Sure.
And that was set up at CBS Films. And CBS Films didn't care if I was going to be editing while I was acting. So we ended up making that movie first, and we agreed to make Clouds when I finished Jane the Virgin in season 5. So we made Clouds, we set it up at Warner Brothers, but I had also, after my experience with 5 Feet Apart, been kind of disheartened by the way the industry works and the process by which, especially first-time and young filmmakers, go through when they're making a studio movie, because of course, studios aren't as focused on impact as they are on a return of their investment. And I really want to make movies for the community of the people that I'm making the movie for, like, and in this case, young people, families, people dealing with loss, people that need hope. This wasn't a movie I was making for our industry. It wasn't, it wasn't intended to be an awards movie or anything. It was intended to be a movie that made a difference in the world, that helped raise money for Zach's fund, that helped people download his music so that it could be donated to his fund. And in that, I needed certain powers that I wouldn't have unless I invested or owned a piece of the movie. So I had started a studio, I had raised a bunch of money, Wayfair Studio, and the intention was to start to finance my own projects and or to invest with studios in our projects so that we could actually share some of that power to make the best decision for the movie, not just the best decision for the budget. And Warner Brothers allowed us to co-invest in this movie so that we could make it the way we really felt it needed to be made. And when the pandemic hit, my producing partner and I, Andrew Lazar and Casey, we all kind of got together with our studio and we decided we didn't want to wait for a theatrical release. We didn't feel HBO Max was the right home for this movie. So my studio bought the film outright from Warner Brothers. And we decided as a community, as a group, to show it to Disney. And that was the dream home for it, Disney. And within 24 hours, we got an email from Mr. Bob Iger himself. And that's the journey of kind of how it landed at Disney Plus, which I believe it was always meant to go to.
I'd agree. And what I love is that people can discover it as time goes on, There's not that stress of a theatrical window. You only have 4 weeks.
And as they add subscribers and as the industry changes and, there's not like oh God, we have to hit it all. Like there's an opening weekend.
Right.
I felt so much less pressure as a filmmaker for that opening weekend to hit certain numbers or things. They don't even share the numbers with us, to be really honest. It was more about like, let's create something that people will share and talk about, and it will pick up over time. And when somebody needs it, they'll find it.
I love that. What I'm really curious about and what I wanted to ask you about is sort of the relationship between like Justin the actor, Justin the director, Justin the producer. How do they inform one another? How does that work? Like when you're on set, do you sort of think like an actor a little bit? Are you fully in that director mode? What is that like for you?
Well, I would say they all intersect in one place, and that is I'm a student. And if I'm an actor, I'm a student, and I'm a student to the script and to the character, and I'm constantly asking why, and I'm curious, and as a filmmaker, as a producer, as a director, I'm a student, and I'm here to learn. I'm not here to dictate. I'm here to learn and figure out and collaborate what the best possible way to shoot a scene is, what the best way I can hold space for my actors are. How I can also be thinking about what the movie needs as a producer, while also not sacrificing what I know it needs artistically as a director. And I thrive in this situation. I thrive in trying to figure out, how we can make the best decision for the project always, and not just the best decision again for the bottom line. And so much of that comes with just kind of giving myself over to the idea that I don't know everything. And, as an actor, and I think as a director as well, I, like a lot of people who maybe, and maybe not everybody will admit this, but I, suffer from imposter syndrome, right? Which, as we know, can be debilitating at times. But there's something also exciting about recognizing that I don't have all the answers, and that's okay. And leaning on other people for support, and leaning on other people for their creative genius, and creating a space so that people feel free to collaborate. I believe that art is inspiration, and we have to remain open to inspiration at all times. So, as an actor, I can do a lot of work and then let go and hopefully inspiration comes through and I'm taking over and, bam, I nailed that take because I felt it, right? As a filmmaker, it's the same thing. It's about, great, I prepped, I spent years prepping for this. Now here we are, and oh, that went wrong, that went wrong, that went wrong. But what if there's a reason it went wrong? What if we can find, what if this is better for the movie? And it's always looking at it from a glass half full perspective and saying, wait, no, this is actually better. This, you know what, Zach would have wanted this. Or this is an incredible setup. Hold on, sure, it's not what we thought, but let's go with it. The lighting's actually even better now. Or, this is kind of what happens every single day on a film set. So allowing myself to find inspiration in those moments, being a student to what's happening, learning every single day, learning from my actors, learning from my crew, learning from my producing partners, learning from my writer, and truly trying to take a humble servant leader approach to making films. That's what I'm interested in and excited about.
The next question was, how did you get to the point where you're like humble enough to let go a little bit? Is it experience, age, time?
I think it's a combination of all of it. I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger, and even in the making of the documentaries. I really struggled in my 20s with collaboration because I think I had a lot of fear. As an example, when I was making My Last Days, the documentary series, I didn't realize the emotional toll it was going to take on me, right? Becoming so close and intimate and friends with these people who I knew didn't have much time left to live. And then becoming friends with them afterwards, and the burden of making sure their story got like told the right way and that we honor them in the family. And consequently, I let fear in more than I let love win. And that ended up with me making decisions that were rooted in fear and not in love, which led to like me being afraid to collaborate or being too possessive of something, and sometimes like stifling and strangling creativity. And luckily, being a student in life, as I learned that in my personal life, or as I learned those lessons in the world, I then have to make the choice to apply them into my profession creatively, even in acting, right? Being willing to not know the best way to act in a scene and asking a co-star for advice. As men, we don't even like asking for directions, let's be honest, right? We don't like admitting weakness, but that's where true strength comes in. True bravery is admitting you don't know. And I felt the most free when I've been able to release those fears and ask questions. And as it relates to, where we are now, it took a long time, but when I realized that I didn't have to make decisions based on fear, and if I made decisions rooted in love, and that love was sincerely just about how do I make something that honors the intention? How do I make something that can touch people's hearts? Then my ego's out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about like, oh, are critics gonna like this, or am I gonna get reviewed poorly? I'm not thinking about, is it gonna make $1 billion at the box office? I'm thinking about like, who's that one person that needs this right now? Right? Who's that one person that can resonate and see what Zach is experiencing in this scene, or who can be, who remembers what it was like to be the best friend of somebody whose love wasn't reciprocated, right? It comes down to that one person, and then you make decisions on what's best for the project. You take yourself out of it.
Sure. I have to ask you about my favorite shot in the movie, and it's a shot that I've been thinking about a lot since I saw it, which is when they're in that French temple, and it's such a beautiful scene, and he's underwater, and you can sort of see his features, and it's just beautiful. Like I said, that's my favorite. Do you have a favorite? Do you have something that has stayed with you from the actual filmmaking process?
One of my favorite shots in the movie, and by the way, thank you. I love that shot too. It was so beautiful. The close-up, right?
I think it's in the trailer as well. It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah. We shot, that was the last day of filming.
Oh, wow.
It was one of the last shots we did. It was so beautiful. And his eyes are so beautiful too, that it just worked out. And I had an incredible DP, Ben Cutchins, who DP's Ozark and some amazing things. And he was a real partner in this. And we wanted to push the boundaries of what a film like this would normally look like, right? We didn't want to make and shoot this in a way that you would expect it to be shot. And I think, I think there's been stories adjacent to this that have been told, and they feel very similar when you watch these movies. And that wasn't the experience I wanted people to have when they watched this. I wanted this to be a new experience and an artistic one. One of my favorite shots is shortly after he gets diagnosed, and he gets his prognosis that he's terminal. And I wanted to find a way to, without any dialogue, without any words, to feel as an audience member that I knew exactly what he felt like. Because in the script, we had originally had a few scenes after that like told us what he felt like, but I didn't want that. I wanted to know, what did he feel like, and what was the only way an audience could truly understand that. And one of the ways we thought about it was, well, let's create a scene where he is looking at himself in the mirror. He doesn't say anything. And then visually it was, well, how do we not see our camera, right? I can't go spend a bunch of money on VFX and do the whole, black swan treatment to it. But how can I have the camera right here and see what a 17-year-old is experiencing when he finds out he's dying, and yet he has to go to school? And we watched a bunch of movies, and there was this gorgeous French film that inspired us. And we actually built an open, so the mirror that's in that shot was actually an open window. And we doubled the set. So what you're looking at is you're looking into the actual set, but you think you're looking at the reflection of the set. And then we brought in a double. So we matched Zach, the actor playing Zach is Finn. We matched them, and we coordinated their movements so that when they were brushing their teeth, they were brushing their teeth together. Wow. And then when they bent down together, and that's when the camera pushed in and the double stepped out of the way, and we were able to go right here with Finn. And there's no mirror, so we don't see the camera. And you're right here, and you're looking at his face, and you're seeing as he's putting on this front, right? He's putting on a smile. He's like, I can do this. But underneath that is sadness. Mm-hmm. And it was the only way we could find to show it. And it's a trick shot, yes, but I believe that trick shots really only work when they validate what the character is feeling and experiencing. So then to see that, we then added some like mirror effects and post, so it looked like there was an actual mirror there. And it's just one of my favorite shots, because we are let in to this private moment that so many people have had to deal with every single day of their lives, who have been diagnosed with cancer or a terminal illness, or just someone who has depression, and they're looking in the mirror and they're like, how am I going to get through this day? And that is something everybody can relate to. And that's why it's one of my favorite scenes.
I love that. So you're 2 for 2 in stunning feature films. Where do you go from here? I know there's a pandemic and it's complicated right now, but what's on your plate?
Well, I'm really excited about our studio. So Wayfarer Studios now is, we are financing and producing a bunch of really cool things. And what I love about it is it's not just me. It's not about me. We are finding incredible filmmakers, and we have, I think, 4 or 5 things we're looking to finance this coming year. All really interesting stories, diverse, inclusive stories. At the moment, I mean, we're doing an experiment right now called the 6 Feet Apart experiment, where we're empowering 5 first-time filmmakers to make their first movies. We gave them each $50,000, and they're getting another, close to 100 probably in finishing services to make their first film during the pandemic. And I'm so excited about that, because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, right? Like, you got to send the elevator back down when you have these opportunities. And then my next movie is called Hold Back the Stars, which I'm really excited about. We're doing that with Lionsgate, and it's a love story set in space.
So that's actually also going to make me cry, is what you're saying. That's also
it's different though. It is. It's different. It's a little Romeo and Juliet, but it's also a genre of film, and it's really cool. And it's a lot about love, but it's also a lot about the future, and the barriers that we put up. I'm really excited about that. It's a step in a different direction for me. It's a much bigger in scope film that I'm really excited about.
I've been a fan of yours for so long. I was Team Raphael for day one. I just have to say, I never got off the train. So it's such a pleasure to get to talk to you. And like you said, I thought I knew what I was getting watching Clouds, and it turned out to be a completely different experience and a beautiful one that I wasn't expecting. So we do want to encourage everyone to see it on Disney Plus and check out Zach's osteosarcoma fund and donate if you can, and buy the song on.
Yes, and all the money from the song goes to that fund, and it's zacksmovement.org if you want to get involved and further his cause. It would mean the world to me and his family.
Justin, thank you again for your time. Truly, truly.
Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you.